Assalamu alaikum. This is Miss Maimi from the Arab International Academy. Today I'm going to explain another grammar lesson, which is about the conditional sentences. Conditionals are statements discussing factors or hypothetical situations and their consequences. Complete conditional sentences contain a conditional clause, which is called the if clause, and the result clause, which we call it as a main clause. The sentence can begin with an if clause or a main clause. So the clauses can be switched. If the sentence begins with an if clause, we have to put a comma between the if clause and the main clause. The types of conditionals that I'm going to explain are the zero conditional, first conditional, and the second conditional. For the zero conditional, we use this type of conditionals in order to talk about things that are always true. It's also used to talk about scientific facts or habits and repeated events. As I said, the clauses can be switched. If we start the sentence with the if clause, we have to add a comma after it and then add the main clause. Now, if we are talking about the zero conditional type, we have to know which tense should be used in both clauses. So in the if clause, we have to use the simple present tense of the verb, and in the main clause, we also have to use the simple present tense of the verb. So if this thing happens, that thing happens. For example, if you heat ice, it melts. If you heat ice, this is the if clause since it includes if, and it melts is the main clause. We added comma since we started the conditional sentence with an if clause followed by the main clause. In the if clause, we have to use the simple present tense of the verb, and in the main clause too, we have to use the simple present. The verb in the if clause, if you heat ice, is heat. So heat is the verb in the if clause. It is in the simple present tense. We did not add s or es to the verb since we have the subject you. For the main verb or for the main clause, which is it melts, we also used the simple present. But in this clause, we added s to the verb melt, so it becomes melts, since we have a subject, which is it. So melts refer to the subject it, and the word heat refers to the subject you. As we said before, the clauses can be switched. So the sentence or the conditional sentence could be, it melts if you heat ice. So we started with the main clause, which is it melts. Then we added the if clause, which is if you heat ice. And in this case, we do not add a comma. For the second example, if it rains, the grass gets wet. This is true. That's why we used the simple present in both clauses. We used the zero conditional one. So in the if clause, which is if it rains, we use the simple present. The verb in this clause is rains. We added s to the verb rain since the subject is it. For the main clause, we added s to the verb get, so it becomes gets since the subject is the grass, and the grass goes for the pronoun it. Now for the second type of the conditional sentences, which is type 1 conditional. We use type 1 conditional to refer to a possible condition and its probable result. We focus on future situations. We use the first conditional when we talk about the future situations. We believe that they are real or possible. When we talk about the type 1 conditional, we use the simple present in the if clause and the simple future in the main clause. So if this thing happens, that thing will happen. For the first example, if you do not hurry, you will miss the bus. If you do not hurry, this is the if clause. The verb in this clause is hurry, but the clause is in the negative form. That's why they added do not. And it is in the simple present, we added do not and not does not because of the subject, which is you. Then for the main clause, it should be in the future tense, since we are using the type 1 conditional. So the main clause will be in this form. You will miss the bus. So in the simple future, we add will plus the base form of the verb. So will miss. And in this conditional sentence, we added comma after the if clause since the sentence started by the if clause. For the second sentence, nobody will miss or will notice if you make a mistake. Nobody will notice is the main clause. We can start the conditional sentence with the main clause followed by the if clause. And we always use the simple future in the main clause, whether we start the conditional sentence by the main clause or the if clause. Nobody will notice, this is the main clause. It's written in the simple future tense. We added will plus the base form of the verb. Then we added the if clause, which is if you make a mistake. It is in the simple present tense. The verb is make. It is written in its base form since the subject is you. When the subject is you, in the simple present tense, we do not add s or es to the verb. Now for type 2 conditional, we use type 2 conditional to refer to an unlikely or hypothetical condition and its possible result. The simple past used in the if clause is past in form only, but in the meaning, it's not in the past. The second conditional form is used to imagine a different reality, so it is an unreal condition. For the if clause, we use a simple past form of the verb, and for the main clause, we use would plus the infinitive form or the base form. So if this thing happened, that thing would happen. So we are using a hypothetical condition here in the if clause and a possible result. So this would happen. For example, if it rained, you would get wet. If it rained, this is the if clause. You would get wet is the main clause. In the if clause, we use the simple past tense. The verb is rained. We added ed to the verb rain. Then for the main clause, we added would plus the base form of the verb, which is get. And as we said, since we started the conditional sentence with the if clause, we have to add a comma after it directly. Now for the second example, if she fell, she would hurt herself. We started the sentence with the if clause, then it is followed by the main clause. If she fell, this is the if clause. We use the simple past tense, fell, and in the main clause, we used would plus the base form of the verb, which is hurt. Here are other examples about the conditionals. For the first one, if it rains, we will close the windows. In this conditional sentence, in the if clause, they use the simple present since its verb is rains. And in the main clause, they use the future tense. When in the if clause, we use the present tense, and in the main clause, we use the future tense, this means that we are talking about type 1 conditional. For the second sentence, plants die if they do not get enough water. For this conditional sentence, we started with the main clause, which is plants die. Then we added the if clause, which is if they do not get enough water. In both clauses, the tenses of the verb are in the present one. So in the main clause, we use the simple present tense since we have die. And in the if clause, we used also the simple present in the negative form, which is do not get. So when we use the simple present tense in both clauses, we are talking about the type 0 conditional. Now for the last example, if you went to bed earlier, you wouldn't be so tired. So this is a hypothetical condition and a possible result. So this is an unreal condition. If you went to bed earlier, you wouldn't be so tired. In the if clause, we use the past tense of the verb, went. The base form of the verb went is go, and go is an irregular verb. And in order to change it to a past tense, we have to change the whole verb, and the verb go becomes went. For the main clause, they used wouldn't or would plus the base form of the verb, which is be. In this case, we are using type 2 conditionals.